we are going to study about food production. You know very well that early man was a nomad. He never settled down at one place because he has to move from one place to another for the search of food. When he observed that seeds falling on the soil start germinating and grow into plant, he started cultivating plants to obtain food. He started cultivating crops near the water bodies and settled down. Slowly, crop production became more organized and leads to development of agriculture. Agriculture practices means cultivating the crops. It's a Latin word. And crop refers to cultivated crops from the field. In India, crops are mainly taken 2 times in a year. First is Rabi crops and second is Kharif crops. Rabi crops are also called winter crops and sown in October and November. It harvested during March and April. For example, wheat, ragi and barley. Whereas Kharif crops are called summer crops. They are sown in June and July and harvested in September and October. For example, rice, maize and gram. Nowadays, farmer has to do many tasks to grow the crops. They have to prepare the soil first. Then they sow the seeds in the soil. Then they have to irrigate the seeds. Then they have to enrich the soil and plants. Then they have to protect the plants from many kind of attacks like birds, worms, insects, pest. Till the crop mature, then they have to harvest them, and storage is another important task. Let us practice the basic agriculture operations today. First is preparation of soil. We will learn all the points in details. Second is sowing the seeds. Third is irrigating the crops. Then enriching the soil. Then weeding. Then crop protection. Then harvesting, threshing, winnowing. And last step is, and very important, storage of crops. First, we will understand about preparation of soil. Soil is prepared in 2 ways. First is plowing, that is also called tilling, right? Farmers actually turn down the soil and make it friable. And second is laying. Plowing is done by plows. Early time, farmers used bulls to plow the field with the help of plows. Nowadays, plowing is done by tractors. Second is laying. Plowing helps the farmer to clean the soil from previous crops. It exposes the insects and worms to sun and kill them. And roots grow stronger and penetrate deeper in the soil and prevent flowing away water. Fertilizers mixed well in the soil and helps in the growth of new microbes. And process of making soil even is called leveling, right? It prevents the soil erosion and it breaks down the big large crumbs into smaller. It distributes the water evenly in the field and maintains the soil fertility. It prevents loss of moisture also. After preparation of soil, farmer has to sow the seeds, but they have to take care of lot of things before selecting the seeds. The seeds should be whole, disease resistant, healthy and having good germinating power and must be watered properly. They done by many times. Previously, farmers are dependent only on rains. Then they started using other options as tube wells and wells. Nowadays, farmers are using many options for irrigation, as furrow irrigation, in which they make furrows. Third is drip irrigation. This kind of irrigation is used where water is very less. Water is given directly in the root drop by drop with the help of large network of pipes. Fourth type of irrigation is sprinkler irrigation. Means the water is given to the plant by spraying. Fourth is sprinkler irrigation. Means spraying water on the crops as artificial rain. And last one is lift irrigation. This kind of irrigation is famous in our villages. Farmers lift the water from tube well, pond, rivers by adopting many kind of techniques. Next is basin or bed irrigation. It means making the field in the form of basin. They actually submerge the field with water. Paddy crops are grown by this kind of irrigation. Third is drip irrigation. This kind of irrigation is happen in the place where water is very less. Water is given directly in the root by drop. Fourth basic agricultural operation is enriching the soil, which is most important part. It means increasing the soil fertility. Farmers have to add some manures and fertilizers. For that, manures are organic substances. They are formed with the help of leftover plants and animals' dung. Whereas fertilizers are made in the factories. They are synthetic and made by chemicals. These are organic substances rich in particular elements like nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. Fifth basic operation is weeding. Weeding is done because farmer has to remove the unwanted plants called weeds from the field, otherwise it competes with main plant for water, air and sunlight. Nutrition also. Removing unwanted plant is called weeding, and it is done by three methods. First is mechanical method, in which farmers have to cut manually these plants, or they have to burn these plants and destroy the plants. Second is biological method. In this method, farmers use living plants or organisms to protect the crop from unwanted plants. Like in south, they use prickly pear and some insects to remove unwanted plant from the main crops. Last is chemical method. Farmers use chemicals to remove these kind of unwanted plants. These chemicals are called weedicides. Next agriculture operation is crop protection. Yes, farmers have to protect the crop once the crop is grown. They have to protect the crop from microbes, insects, birds, animals. So they are again using same techniques, mechanical technique, biological method and chemical method. You must have seen scarecrow in the field. Next basic agriculture operation is crop protection. When plants germinate and start growing up, field. It is used to keep away birds from the field. They use mechanical method also. They use drums to keep away birds and animals away from the field. Sometimes they use biological method. They grow different crops together to not to spread the insects and worms in the crop. Last is chemical method. They spray some chemicals on the crops to protect them from many kind of bacteria and viruses. Right? So these are the methods for the crop production. After this, all the activities, when crop is matured, they have to harvest the crop by threshing and winnowing. These are the process done by cutting and gathering. Farmers have to cut the crops. It is done by sickle manually. Now, after this all methods, operations, farmer has to harvest the crop by cutting, or they have to gather the whole crop. For this they use sickle and doing it manually, but nowadays they are using thresher. After crop is mature, farmer have to harvest the crop. This is done manually by sickles. Nowadays, farmers are using a machine called harvester. Next process is threshing. Threshing is the grain is separated from the husk and dried straw. This is done by the help of wooden blocks. Crop is beaten on the wooden blocks and seeds are separated from the crop. Last is removing husk. When seeds are removed, they have to remove husk from the crop. For that, they are using winnowing. After separating the grain from the husk and straw, removing husk is another important part, in which they use wind to separate husk from the main grain. After harvesting, threshing and winnowing, the last process is storage of crops. After the much hard work, if crops are not stored properly, it may get spoiled. So, it is another important step to grow crops. The grain is stored in jute bags or metallic beans, in granaries or silos in large quantity. They are making godowns and keeping the crops in a special temperature and safety measures. Now we have concluded the chapter food production. Stay